In the previous video, we looked at storing multiple values in an indexed array. The other type of array in PHP is called an associative array. Instead of a numeric index, each array element is identified by a string. So in effect, the array stores a set of key value pairs. Let's create an associative array for descriptions from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So we need a variable to store our array. I'll call it descriptions. Then after the assignment operator, just like an indexed array, you can use either the array keyword or the shorthand syntax. With the array keyword, you have a comma-separated list between parentheses. With the shorthand syntax, you just have the comma-separated list between a pair of square brackets. I'm going to use the shorthand syntax, so a pair of square brackets, and I'm going to add an extra line in between those square brackets so I can space my code out to make it easier to read. So we need to start off with the key for each element. It needs to be a unique string. So we're having some descriptions from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. We'll have a description for Earth. That's the string which will act as the key. Then we need to assign the value to it. You assign the value using a double arrow operator, which is an equal sign followed immediately by a greater than sign. Then the value, Earth is mostly harmless, we hope. Then a comma for our next key value pair. We'll have Marvin as the key. Then the double arrow operator and the description of Marvin, who is the paranoid android. And of course at the end we need a semicolon. You access associative array elements in exactly the same way as an indexed array, except that instead of the index number, you use the array key between square brackets after the array variable. So let's display the value for Marvin. So echo, and then descriptions, and in square brackets, and it's a string, so it must be in quotes, Marvin. And if we save that and load the page into the browser, it displays the value that is stored in that associative array with Marvin. You can also add elements to an existing associative array by inserting the key between a pair of square brackets after the variable name. So let's just add something else. We'll have our descriptions, then a pair of square brackets, then a string will go in there. The key will be Zaphod. And then when you assign a value like this, you don't use the double arrow operator. For an individual one, you just use the ordinary assignment operator. So the value will be President of the Imperial Galactic Government. And we can inspect that array. This has now been expanded using printr. So if we just comment out that line, then use printr, put our array variable between the parentheses, save and refresh the page in the browser. There are the keys: Earth, the value, mostly harmless, Marvin, the paranoid android, and Zaphod, the president of the Imperial Galactic Government. So it works in exactly the same way as inspecting an indexed array. So using an indexed array or an associative array is pretty much the same. There is one big difference though with an associative array. You can't put an associative array element directly inside a double quoted string. Let's see what happens if you try. I'm going to comment that line out, and then we'll have echo and a double quoted string. We'll have the description of Earth. Then we'll have our descriptions array and the Earth element. And my editing program always puts red wavy lines under parts where it thinks there is a syntax error. So obviously it regards this as being a major problem. I'm going to ignore that for the moment. Just going to save and refresh the page in the browser. And we get this horrendous message here about T in caps and white space. Don't worry about what that means. It's telling you that there is a problem here with trying to embed an associative array element directly into a double quoted string. And the way to get around this is actually very simple. All we need to do is to wrap the associative array element inside a pair of curly braces. So immediately before the $, an opening curly brace, and then at the end, after the closing square bracket, another curly brace, the closing curly brace. Those red wavy lines have gone away. My editing program is now happy. I'll just resave and then refresh the browser. And now we are processing correctly that associative array element in the double quoted string. So that's how you get rid of that particular problem. So we've looked at both indexed arrays and associative arrays. Arrays are a very important part of PHP, and you'll use them a lot. They store multiple values in a single variable. Although the values don't need to be related, they normally are. The only values that we've stored are strings, but arrays can store any type of value, including numbers and even other arrays. Indexed arrays use numbers starting from 0 to identify each array element, whereas associative arrays use a string to identify each value. We also saw how to inspect the contents of an array with printr, as well as how to include an associative array element in a double-quoted string by wrapping it in curly braces.